care. You know that I can. I can start. You can start recording. I can say whatever. Like I could just start. What?
I just started recording.
Oh! Rene, you caught me off guard again.
Just because as soon as you said you can start recording, I don't care. I think it started out with I don't care.
No,
because Bryan doesn't care.
I just don't. I know. This is how we start every episode. I always get caught off guard. Or
I like doing it because I like starting it where it's just like an organic conversation.
I mean, that's how we always start our podcast.
Yeah. So I mean, it just feels real, that it's not like it doesn't start off with hello everyone, stuff like that.
It's not fake.
Yeah.
Are you saying we're products of manufactured production?
Not yet, because no
Fake.
one's give us any money yet. So, I'm kidding.
Are you saying that once we set up a Patreon, we can do whatever the audience wants us to do?
I mean, that's what a Patreon is for.
No. Not to that extent, because then people are like, look, man, I want to be on the podcast.
Look at these. These are my monkeys. I can give them whatever. And
What?
talk about it.
Hey. No.
No.
It's still bothering me. Before you started recording, I was saying that I had a story to tell you, and it's just completely gone. Like, I don't know. It bothers me. I'm thinking back of everything that just happened.
Multiple times, like, as of like you think it's like an important thing or something like that.
Is it on Facebook? Is it like, did I put it somewhere?
Did I see articles on Facebook?
I mean, the only thing
didn't you send me something? Or no?
Did I?
I think you may have.
That's what it. I just saw it. I know. I know what it was. It was a heartbreaking event. Mm-hmm. Cyberpunk got delayed.
Oh, that's right.
That's the sad part. Wow. Rene.
Oh yeah, we talked about it a bit on Wednesday. That's why. Just on Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday we talked about it, didn't we?
When I came to pick up the book?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Things are coming together now. Well, because it was so much. I think that everything that we mentioned in the last week is slowly starting to come back. And that was another thing. Mm-hmm. We talked about Tom Holland coming out with his look. Yeah. For Uncharted, and we were talking about that in the last issue, issue 21, right?
Yeah.
Issue 21.
This is issue 22, yeah.
Yeah, and then they finally announced like a week afterwards, hey, we wrapped up production. And we're like, holy crap,
crazy.
Man.
I was like, wow.
Yeah.
And then I showed you the picture of
Mark Wahlberg
as with his Sully mustache and stuff.
Didn't look that bad.
No, I got used to it. It was like he kind of looks like a Brooklyn cop, like at first.
He does.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does. But it's I like it. Mm-hmm. And we'll briefly touch on this like a minute because we were talking about this in our group chat. Mm-hmm. And we were saying that basically it's relieving to kind of see that they just wrapped up production and they slowly started to reveal bits and pieces of information close to wrapping up with production because now you can tell that this is a movie that they wanted to make.
Definitely.
That it's not like, oh, well, we're going to listen to fan feedback and basically we're going to just fan services. This is our movie that we want to make. Hope to God it doesn't come out like Monster Hunter.
Oh, man. That trailer.
People were offended.
I watched that trailer and I was just like, wait a minute. This
doesn't make sense.
That doesn't make any sense. I'm like, why is this Monster Hunter? And just, I don't know. They look like they were like, oh, well, and we'll do it where it's like, a bunch of, what was it, Iraq soldiers.
It was just soldiers out in the desert
Iraq,
that they fight a monster and then they get transported to the mystical land of Monster Hunter or whatever.
Monster Hunter. And then, definitely will implicate that when they destroy a monster, they'll use that as armor or weapons or whatever. And
look, if there's no stat system, then I don't care. It ain't Monster Hunter.
I want the stat system up on the screen.
But it's good. I mean, that was a good thing. So that's a good piece of news.
Yeah.
But Cyberpunk got delayed another 21 days.
Another 21 days?
Yeah, 21 days, December 10th.
Yeah.
I was so ready.
Yeah.
I was hyped. I was internally hyped, and I have the collector's edition. So you know what this means? Because I pre-ordered it on GameStop.
I was going to say, did you already, you basically pre-ordered it?
I pre-ordered it since last year.
And
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Last year. I had it. I've been sitting on this order. And then they announced it for April. I'm like, great, I get to have this. I know that once it releases, I'm not going to get it for another 3 days because I didn't pay for the premium shipping. There's no way I'm going to pay for like $15 extra. I should have. I'm an idiot, but I was cheap at the time.
How many?
$250.
$250?
I think it was like $250.
Dang.
And then I was like, it's going to come out in April. Like they finally announced it. It's coming out in April. January, February, March. Like February, March.
That's not for the new console, is it?
Xbox One. No, not yet. They gave a free upgrade anyways.
Oh, okay.
So then March, February rolls around. We're delaying it till September. Cool. September 18th. That's a day before my birthday. Guys, my birthday's going to be awesome this year.
And then it's announced, oh, we're going to delay it another month.
Okay, November, halfway through November, guys. Right? We hit November.
And then delayed another 21 days.
Stop.
I want it.
Can you give it to me?
You're just like, you're looking at it across the street. It's a rainy day, and you're on the window like,
at this point, I know it's going to come out like January 2024.
Well, the game's going to come out someday.
You say that now. Come December, January 23rd. It's the release date.
Cyberpunk 2078.
That's
the actual release date, 2077.
You are now living in Cyberpunk.
That wasn't the title, guys. That was actually the release date.
Yeah, we made you think that's what the game was about. It's 2077, but yeah, by the time it comes out, you'll be living in 2077. Yeah.
And it won't be like how the game is.
All right, we ready to start the show? We got a pretty packed episode.
Yeah, so this time it's the intro. You're doing it.
It's
right?
Me.
Okay.
I got this. I got this.
Everybody?
All right, here we go. Hello, Internet. Welcome to Keeping Up with the Nerds Variety Hour, coming to you from 12920 Philadelphia Street, Whittier, California, aiming to be Whittier's #1 podcast for all things nerdy. I'm your host, Bryan.
Rene.
And welcome to the show, everyone. Issue 22.
This is the final week of Spooky News.
Yes, that's right. Part 4 of 4.
Part 4.
Part 4 of 4.
Issue.
No 20. Delays in the issue. Here at Keeping Up with the Nerds, we're not like DC and Marvel. We don't delay issues when we promise them to
or
you.
Or Cyberpunk.
Stop. Stop. You gotta stop making fun of me. All right, so we got a lot of content for you guys this week.
Yeah.
So if you have not listened to issue 21, go ahead, head on back to issue 21, listen to that podcast. Some pretty interesting stuff. We started Spooky News, what? Issue 22, issue 21, issue 20, issue 19 is when we started this whole thing where we recommended movies and we gave our own personal
scary
real-life
stories,
scary stories. So feel free to head back to issue 19 if you have not listened to them. If this is your first issue, welcome. Thank you for the listen.
Thank you.
But if you guys have not, or if this is the first issue, head on back to issue 19. Listen to them all the way through. Let us know what you guys think. Come back to 22.
Or just listen to, what is it? Was it issue 20, your story? Right?
No, 20 was, oh yeah, mine.
Yeah, your story,
because
part 1 of your story
yes.
was in 20. And again, we got more feedback that everyone excited for your part 2.
Okay, well, don't put pressure on me, okay? I'm not lying in these stories. These are real. I confirmed it with my girlfriend, by the way. I told her the story I'm going to tell today. And I said, did I make anything up? And she said, no, this is 100% real. You actually said it correctly. I'm like, okay, great. I just want to make sure because I don't want her to listen and be like, that's not what happened, babe. That's not what happened. Well, then you just ruined the legitimacy of everything because this is for real.
Yeah.
I actually told the story to a couple coworkers at my work and they got freaked out.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang.
I think I teased it in issue 21 that this was almost a kind of like death situation for me. Like I almost died. So we'll get to it. But first, let's go ahead and jump into our movie recommendations.
Yes.
Be proud of me again because I watched another horror movie.
You did.
I did. Did you reveal yours first last week?
I think you did first. So
I said #alive. Yes. Okay. #alive was my recommendation.
So it's my turn. So I'll go first. Excuse me, the Rockstar.
It's the caffeine, man. It's caffeine. That's why I got non-carbonated this time around. Smart, right?
So my recommendation is you're spitting all over.
Stop it.
Corona. So my recommendation for this episode will go along the line of what we're going to talk about in the second half of this episode.
Ooh.
It's going to be, so my recommendation is actually not a bad, but like a kind of like a weird / bad great horror movie.
So like The Room.
Something like that.
Okay.
It's going to be from a movie that I watched with my friend Hayden actually a while ago. It's called Brain Dead, or AKA Dead Alive. Now, this is a New Zealand zombie movie that's directed by Peter Jackson himself. This was like late...
Peter Jackson.
Lord of the Rings. Hobbit. King Kong.
Was this before?
This was early in his career when he was doing movies out of New Zealand, because this movie came from New Zealand.
The New Zealanders, man.
The thing is that this movie is so gory, so bloody, that in order to be released in America, they had to edit it out a bit and rename it Dead Alive. The original movie's called Brain Dead.
Okay.
The concept is that a not an archaeologist but a zoologist guy finds this rat monkey hybrid or whatever from a weird country, brings it back to New Zealand for the zoo and stuff like that, and it bites someone, and it ends up causing a zombie kind of outbreak. But this was like, I want to say late 80s, early 90s. And it's so good. It's so great. It has so many things. It has a kung fu reverend that says the greatest line of all time: "I kick ass for the Lord." He goes and beats up and fights zombies. And
hang on, you're saying this is a bad movie?
Yeah.
This doesn't sound that bad.
No, but it's a great movie though, because originally it was, obviously people thought it was weird, but you watch it now, it's great.
Tremors. Like what you're saying, it reminds me of Tremors in a way.
Yeah.
Where it's like you watch it now and you're like, what the hell is this crap? Like,
but it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I grew up on Tremors. Mm-hmm. Tremors 1, 2, and 3.
And the movie also has a zombie baby that's like a animatronic puppet like running around.
This doesn't
and stuff
sound
like that.
bad at all. This sounds
great.
like something I would watch.
There's gonna be a link. It's available on YouTube because someone uploaded it on YouTube.
Bingo.
So I'll send you the link and you could just possibly put it there for our listeners to watch.
So you're telling me I should watch it.
Yes.
It's called Dead Alive.
Dead Alive.
Dead Alive.
Dead Alive. That is the movie directed by Peter Jackson himself.
Wow.
It's great.
Do you know what the New Zealanders? I'll go alongside the topic. It's not my recommendation.
Yeah.
But I will kind of piggyback on this because I got a haircut today.
Yeah, and you look good.
Thank you. I didn't even comb it, so I
don't
really?
Know.
Yeah,
it has that good little over.
Oh shoot, I did.
Yeah.
I just saw my reflection.
Damn.
Dang. No. At the barber shop here in Uptown Whittier, I go to the Uptown Barber's place, and they usually play movies there. And they were watching What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh,
but the FX series, not the movie.
I like the movie.
I
haven't watched the series.
Fantastic.
I haven't watched the series. People tell me like the series is good. It's funny.
It's good enough.
Yeah,
it's good enough.
But the movie just has that special place in my heart
because the movie is a true mockumentary, in my opinion. It's like you can tell that there was a vision in sight, and they didn't stray from it. And the FX series is more along the lines of like, yes, it's a mockumentary, but we're going to try to make it like The Office, except it's not really The Office, but it is kind of like The Office. But it was filmed it takes place in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Taika Waititi directed that movie. And thanks to friend of the show, Bishop, he's the one that showed me this movie. I fell in love with that movie. It is, so it's like one of my top cult movies. I usually recommend it to people. So your New Zealand movie reminded me of What We Do in the Shadows.
So great.
It's so great. But my recommendation, we actually mentioned this a couple issues before.
Yeah, I haven't watched the second one. I've seen the first one.
Which one?
Of the one of your recommendation.
Okay, The Babysitter.
Yeah.
And that one, we talked about it because we mentioned it a while back ago where it's like, oh, Netflix is releasing a sequel to The Babysitter.
Yeah.
This movie came out in like 2017. And at first, I kind of had an interest in it because it was kind of weird. Basically, what the story is about is it follows this kind of like nerdy 12-year-old that just gets picked on all the time and whatnot. And he's like a true like nerd. Like, I can kind of relate to him because he has a fear of needles. Yeah. And I have a massive fear of needles.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
I can't stand. There was a scene in The Babysitter where the guy, I guess the teenage friends or whatever. They go upstairs to take the blood of the innocents, which is the kid, Cole, and the needle goes into his arm. I swear to you, I gagged hard.
Oh, really?
Like, I could watch the scene where the dude has the trophy go through his neck or the knives going through the head. Like, that didn't bother me. The needle through the arm? Nope. I lost it.
Really?
I was like, nope, I
People
can't.
have a natural fear of needles. I've never really had that because I mean, when I get shots, I just look at it going in my arm and then just
No. I'll tell you this. I love my mom. I love my mom. I love my mom. If my mom ends up listening to this episode, Mom, I love you, but you really messed me up. My fear of needles stems from the fact that she used to poke me for fun. With needles.
Why?
She admitted it to my girlfriend too. She said that when I was as a baby, she used to poke my feet with needles.
No.
Yeah. I'm not laughing. This is real.
I know. That's just amazing, though.
Yeah.
As a baby, I mean, you can't imagine that. As a baby, go doo doo doo.
Yeah, and she would always have to because she's diabetic, so she had always have to prick her fingers.
Yeah.
She would tell me, "Do it for fun. Do it with me," and I'm like, "What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
No." So to this day, never. And I work at a hospital too, and I get I walk into rooms and I see procedures like that. And I'm like,
like,
nope, nope, I gotta go. I get cold sweats and I'm out. And that's the end. I will watch anything but a needle go into someone's arm. I can't even do it myself.
So now the first thing that pops in my head is Saw 2.
Nope. No. No.
Now, you've seen that movie though, right?
No.
You haven't seen.
I refuse to watch the Saw movies.
Do you know there's a scene?
Yes, I've seen that scene multiple times, and I turn around and go like, "Nope, there is no way in hell I'm going to watch that. Never in my life. Unless you give me an extraordinary amount of money, I would watch that scene." Anyways, besides the point with the needles, $20 million.
$20 million.
Babysitter, fantastic movie. Like I said, it follows the story of a 12-year-old nerd that basically still has a babysitter, and he gets dared, I guess, by his best friend, who's a girl, to stay up past his bedtime to see what this babysitter does, because they kind of joke around in the sense like, oh, well, he brings over her guy friends and they just have orgies and stuff like that. You've seen the movie though, right?
Yeah, I've seen the first one,
And it's just this kind of crazy blood cult that they try to do, where they sacrifice the human because they perform some devil ritual, and it grants them, anything that they want, essentially. And this whole movie is basically following Cole and him trying to survive what's like a third of the night. It seems like it's not that much. Yeah,
that's because they start off well in the night before, and then it's like halfway in the night. That's when he finds out what they're doing.
It's a very short movie. The deaths happen quick, and the way I can describe it is it's not a good movie where you can sit down and be like, yep, top 3 movie. It's not that. No. But it is a fantastically fun movie in the sense that you'll smile and be like, oh yeah, that was pretty funny. Yeah. Humor is fantastic. I think the dialogue between the characters is great. You can tell that the tropes are very meta, that they're easily kind of like, oh yeah, I can see what they're trying to do here, because they have like the slutty, pretty hot girl that's in the corner. The black guy, the buff jock that's the quarterback, the emo girl who's just kind of like kind of thing, and then B, who is the typical hot girl that the guy will fall for and stuff like that. And the movie ends the way it would. Really great.
I kind of like the ending.
Yeah, it's gonna end that way. Yeah.
So I was kind of like, oh, okay. So the second one seemed interesting enough that if you see the first one, obviously you're like, well, I kind of want to see what happens next.
So it was directed by MNG.
Yeah, McG or something.
Yeah. He also directed a couple episodes of Chuck.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah.
I looked him up. I'm like, why do they keep referencing his name? So this must be like he must be someone important. Yeah. I'm like, oh shoot, he directed Chuck. Yeah. And Terminator Salvation. I mean, that movie was like whatever.
He's done a couple comedies as well too. He did Terminator Salvation. I didn't mind Terminator Salvation for what it was. It could have been better, obviously. But for what it was like one of the first movies I was like, okay, cool, they're finally going to do the future movies. Like, we're seeing the war. Yeah. And then they didn't do anything else after that.
He did a great job with The Babysitter. And he directed the Killer Queens one, too. The sequel.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
The sequel. So I'm going to give it a watch. Yeah. But that's my recommendation.
Okay,
so
cool.
Before we move on to the stories, let's go back. What were your 4 recommendations?
So I think it was The Invitation. Then it was... what was the second one? I remember it was so the third one was Reanimator, and then now it's Brain Dead. I forgot what the second one was.
It's something about
Ready or Not.
Yes.
Yeah. So mine was Invitation, Ready or Not, The Reanimator, and now Brain Dead, aka Dead Alive.
Gotcha. So my 4 recommendations were Alien, the original one, not Aliens, Alien, Castlevania, #Alive, and The Babysitter. There we go, guys.
There we go.
8 recommendations. 4 from each one of us.
Yes.
Perfect. Wrap this up in a bow. Give it to the listeners.
Give it to the listeners. Something to do on Halloween.
There you go. Which they're probably going to be listening in before
I know, it's gonna be
first week of November. But still, we're wrapping this up. And it's good because most horror comes out November anyways. Yeah. So it doesn't come out in October. It's either like a summer release or after Halloween.
Yeah, so they try to do like if it's a movie that implicates on Halloween, a horror movie, they'll try to do it like in midway or something like
exactly. That. Okay, so, moment of truth time.
Oh,
the moment people have been waiting for now. Thanks for the pressure, man.
I'm just saying, people, they loved your stories, and I don't blame them. They were great.
All right,
they loved your story.
Don't make me nervous on this one because I'm gonna be legitimate. So I'm gonna space out a little bit while I tell this story because I need to kind of put myself in the situation.
Go for it.
So in issue 20, I basically was talking about my first experience with a ghost, or a spirit, whatever we want to call it.
Yeah.
And it was actually here in Uptown Whittier, the building right across the street from Starbucks. And pretty much the story goes that this spirit or ghost I basically saw coming from the 6th floor down to the 5th. We interacted, didn't think too much of it, but he did disappear. My dad didn't know what was going on, and he ended up coming back, but in my cousin's dream. I was alluding to the fact that this spirit had constantly been popping up in my life after this fact.
Yeah, it was constantly following you.
It was constantly following me. And it had to do with sleep paralysis. So I'm going to start off by saying that I've had in my lifetime 3 different experiences with sleep paralysis. And it's something to joke about, I feel. I feel like people that actually go through sleep paralysis, you know, it's traumatic events
it's very edgy. Yeah. Like for mine, for my last story. Yeah. But when I said that the figure that I was more afraid, like I said, I was more afraid that I couldn't move, but I wasn't afraid of what the shadow figure was basically putting its head against my head.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel threatened. But again, I was more freaking out to the fact that I couldn't move at all.
Yeah. So with mine, I've never really have felt fear in the 3 episodes I've had. They've been kind of weird experiences. I'll start off by talking about the first experience I had. This was years ago. This was when my dad was still around, actually. Probably 2014, 2015, I want to say.
Okay.
Yeah, around like 2015.
Yeah.
So my friend, the day before the actual thing happened, the sleep paralysis happened, had a friend who was into biking. And in Whittier, we have the San Gabriel River Trail. So if you take it from Whittier, basically close to the 605, and take it, I think, northbound, you can actually reach the Azusa Canyons. But he liked taking it southbound towards Seal Beach. So he called me up closer to about the evening the day before, and he's like, hey, how about we wake up at 5 a.m. and we can go on a bike ride. We'll head to Seal Beach, and we'll just chill. I'm like, okay, that's perfect, fine. Yeah. So I have never been a morning person. I've always struggled waking up. So my stupid ass basically said, you know what? I'm going to stay up all night. I'm going to stay up from the time he called me, which was around 6 p.m., all the way to 5 a.m. I will meet him up, and we're going to go bike ride. So I met him up at 5. I basically stayed up all night. At this point, I've probably not have slept for about 20-something hours. Okay? And I had a lot of caffeine, which was stupid at my age. But what's different, right?
Well, why is it? Sorry, like, whenever we were younger, I remember, like, my caffeine intake was, like, crazy.
Because we didn't put too much thought into it.
That's true.
Now we're older.
Yeah.
Now we know.
Now I'm spacing it out.
Exactly. We're trying to space it out. So I met him at the San Gabriel River entrance trail in Whittier, close to the 605, and we started biking down to Seal Beach. Yeah. We made it about maybe a third of the way through before he said, you know what, the winds are against us. It's not going to be a good ride. Our friends basically gave up and turned around. So let's just bike it all the way to Azusa. So we biked it to Azusa, which was maybe about an hour and a half, 2-hour bike ride because we took our time. Came back, and we probably ended the ride closer to about 11 a.m. So I was gone from 5 to about 11. As soon as I got home, passed out. And in that span of sleep, I slept for about, I would say, 16-ish hours, 15 plus hours straight.
Wow.
Well, straight-ish because I woke up a couple different times.
Okay.
First time I woke up closer to about 5 p.m. and I could not move. I was stuck in bed. I was paralyzed, and I was just like, okay, like I could barely open my eyes. I was conscious, but I wasn't able to move around. I'm like, okay, whatever, fine. Then I woke up closer to about 10. Sun had set, and in my head, I'm just like, oh, shoot. Like, I missed everything. I missed the whole day. I don't know why no one's woken me up. Like, does anyone kind of think it's weird that I've been sleeping all day? Whatever, fine. And I knocked out again. Past midnight. First sleep paralysis episode I had. Basically, I passed out on the wrong side of the bed, which I don't know if maybe that might have been a factor to it. I mainly believe it's because of the lack of sleep and me sleeping throughout this whole thing. But in the first sleep paralysis episode, I basically felt like my body was sinking into the bed, basically. Not just my shoulders. Every part of my body was sinking in.
I felt that, yeah.
My neck felt like it was elongating. And I wasn't able to breathe for what felt like about 30 seconds. But instead of panicking, I felt myself laughing. And I finally had enough strength to basically turn my head to the left. And if you want to picture a room, picture a square room, okay? On the left side of the room, if you see the square in front of you, on the left side of the room is the door, bottom left. My bed is on the top right corner. I was sleeping opposite of that, so I was sleeping backwards. I turned over to look at the door, and I noticed this tall figure, trench coat, black hat, but I didn't see a face. He was pure. He was just all in black, basically, like a shadowy figure.
Wow.
And I felt like someone was actually in that room,
Mm-hmm.
but I couldn't do anything about it. And I didn't put too much thought into it. But when I saw him, that's when I started to laugh even harder.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. I woke up the next morning, closer to about maybe 8 a.m. And I remember everything that happened, every aspect of it. And it weirded me out that this person was tall, built shoulders with a top hat. I'm like, why does this look familiar to me? Like, it doesn't make any sense. A couple of years pass. Girlfriend and I move in together. This is more recent. This was maybe about a year and a half ago, 2 years. I haven't had a sleep paralysis episode since. So from then to now, to what we're at right now, no sleep paralysis episodes. And keep in mind, I have not thought about this figure, this spirit, whatever. This is twice that I met him already. Same incident. At the time, I was working 2 jobs. I was working a job over here in Whittier and a job over at Disney. So I wasn't getting enough sleep. I had almost no social life. I would be one job to another, home, sleep, and that was it. And this was around grad night time. So for those that don't know, if you worked at Disney around grad night, you would be there till like 3 or 4 a.m. And then I would have work the next day at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
There was no sleep. No such thing as sleep for me. So there was a period where I basically only slept about maybe 2 to 3 hours for about 4 or 5 days straight. I remember this one day I came home and it was the next day I had the day off. So I'm like, perfect. You know what? I'm just going to lay down in bed and I'm just going to pass out. Passed out like closer to about 8 p.m. What I felt next was same incident as my first sleep paralysis episode. I woke up frozen in sweat with my shoulders this time, basically the upper part of my torso, pushed down onto the bed. My girlfriend was right next to me. She was sleeping, but I didn't feel her. And as I look over to see what was in front of me, I see the figure, this time at the foot of my bed. Tall, built shoulders, and the top hat. This time I could see the colors of the trench coat, similar to the same one that I saw the first time around in the building. The thing that kind of that was odd to me was that this time his face was apparent. He had no face. It was just blank.
Yeah.
But he was still, black, brown.
Yeah.
Same as the guy, but nothing.
Yeah,
no facial
no,
features,
yeah.
nothing. It was just a blank face. And, in those moments, you kind of feel like something's going to happen. But I didn't feel anything. For some reason, him being there brought me comfort, which was weird. And I didn't think too much of it at the time. I didn't laugh this time around. I was more along the lines of like, okay, he's here again. Great. I did have some trouble breathing, but I woke up again and I kind of figured that I was holding in my breath. So I kind of woke up with like that.
Yeah.
And I told my girlfriend about it and she kind of got a little bit freaked out and she's like, oh, it could just be another sleep paralysis episode. I'm like, yeah, probably is. Honestly, I'm not going to put too much thought into it. Until the third incident.
Oh, wow.
And the third incident is where it got a little bit serious because now we're talking about how it started to affect my own safety. Same incident. Wasn't sleeping. I was stressing out about a lot of different things. I remember coming home from work and I told my girlfriend, you know what? I'm just going to go to bed. I'm going to lay down. I can't do this. I can't be awake right now. I have to go to sleep. And this was like 3, 4 in the afternoon. So this was still daylight out. So I fell asleep. And from what my girlfriend told me, because she has now experienced this whole incident, and she can confirm that these events actually were true. Basically, closer to the evening, around like maybe 6 or 8 p.m., she would try to wake me up, but I wouldn't respond. Consciously, I knew that she was in the room, but I couldn't move a muscle. I was just there. Like it felt like I was being lifted up from the bed and I can see the things around me, but my body, I knew where my body was. Kind of like, what is it called? Astral projecting or something like that.
Like
yeah.
Out of body experience.
Yeah. So the out of body experience, that's kind of what I felt, but it wasn't that I was doing it. It's just kind of what I felt. So closer to about, I wouldn't say like 9 or 10 p.m. is when I started experiencing the sleep paralysis. This time, the experience wasn't in the room, but it was somewhere else. And I think I mentioned this in the last issue before. When I dream, I know that I dream because I see a black border around my vision. So if you see everything in first person, I know that I'm dreaming when I see this black foggy border around me. In this dream that I had, I was stuck in place. I couldn't move, and it felt like I was, fixated in this kind of standing, shoulder pressed, arms pressed to the body kind of position. And this figure was further away from me this time around in a long hallway. No doors, no windows, just a straight hallway with just walls. This figure started to slowly approach me. And as he started to approach me, I felt this sense of peace that I wanted him to come closer. And as he started to approach me, I could start to see the trench coat again. The brown color of his trench coat, the top hat, the no face, everything about him. The second time I met him, I said I didn't feel anything.
Yeah.
The third time, I felt the presence of him actually coming up to me and was about to touch me.
Yeah.
So as he started to get closer to me, like I said, I felt that sense of peace and the acceptance. And I felt hands reaching around my neck, and my neck just being squeezed as like every grasp of breath I had was being taken away from me. And in my head, I knew that I was saying this. I knew that I was vocally saying this in the dream. I said, okay, just let it happen. Just let it happen.
Wow.
And I was ready to just let it go until my girlfriend basically woke me up and I was out of breath. And she's like, are you okay? Like, what's going on? And I'm like, I think I just had sleep paralysis because I was in cold sweat. Like I was in a drench of sweat, basically. It wasn't until a couple hours afterwards, I think it might have been the next day, where my girlfriend told me a different side of that story. Because what she experienced on her end.
Yeah.
Which was completely different than what I experienced. Essentially what happened was she tried waking me up several different times throughout the night, but she couldn't do it. I don't know if this is kind of like a true rumor that most people say is when someone is dreaming heavily, you don't wake them up because sometimes they can't wake up afterwards.
It's the same rules of also like waking up someone if they're sleepwalking.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's that old myth. I don't know if it's true or not, but yeah.
Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. That's the thing. I think it depends on the person, honestly.
Yeah. So my girlfriend was trying to wake me up because she said that my breathing patterns were off. Like it didn't make any sense how I was breathing. It wasn't until I started to stiffen up and I stopped breathing that it freaked her out, because she said that all of a sudden, one instance I was breathing just fine, the next, like I was choking. And that's when she tried to like wake me up.
Yeah.
As she was trying to wake me up in that minute, I said to her, just let it happen. It's okay. Just let it happen. Let it happen. And it wasn't until she actually like moved me hard that I was like, and I woke up.
Wow.
So if it wasn't for her at that moment, I don't think I would have been able to wake up. I would have probably passed out or passed in my sleep from not breathing.
Yeah.
Because of that sleep paralysis.
Jeez.
So here's the thing. What made me think so much about this story as to why it might be connected to what was going on over here in the building is because the presence that I met there has been continuously appearing in my life. One time with the face here and now no face constantly on 3 other separate occasions. This figure has never left me. And I've never been scared of it, even though I would say that it almost tried to take my life. But that's why I kind of always fear not getting enough rest. Because if I have another sleep paralysis episode, who knows if that thing might still be there.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And how far it'll go again.
Exactly. I was telling this story to a couple coworkers in preparation for this episode to see if, like, just to kind of get a refresher of everything that was going on. And one of them brought this idea that maybe by running into the spirit in the building, it basically latched onto me. Yeah. And now it doesn't want to let go for whatever reason, you know?
Maybe because you saw it. That's why.
Probably.
That's the only logical thing that I noticed, that maybe it was there for a while trying to talk to people and you're the only one that responded.
Basically.
Yeah.
And it maybe never left. I'll say this. I've had other encounters where I refuse to go into different rooms or into different buildings or into different floors because I don't feel right. At the workplace I work, there's a floor that I would not go in if it was empty. Turns out that it was a psych ward.
Ooh.
And I had no idea.
Wow.
I just would not. And I felt uncomfortable even looking down the hallway. it's those things that always kind of surprise me because I'm not even trying.
Yeah.
But it somehow ends up
That's crazy.
appearing.
Wow.
So it's been about 1.5 years.
Oh, okay. Oh, since the last
sleep paralysis episode, thankfully.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe as I grow older, I get to see the spirit again. Maybe. I know that maybe some listeners are going to probably say like, "Hey, do something about this." No. We're not messing with this at all.
I think the like common thing they'll probably say is like burn some sage or something, you know.
No. Look. When it comes to spiritual stuff, I don't mess with that crap.
You don't mess with anything.
Nothing. No. No Ouija board.
I know this.
No sage. No exorcism. I want to live. Okay? If the spirit wants to hurt me, I'll let him do it on my own terms. And if it's going to be peaceful, I'll accept it. That's fine.
Yeah.
But thankfully, nothing has happened yet.
Yes.
And I promise to get more sleep, listeners, okay? So it doesn't happen.
Sleep already.
Just watch. If we keep doing this podcast, this show for like years and years and years, and I pass in my sleep, knock on wood, doesn't happen anytime soon. Watch them be like a couple listeners that might be dedicated to this, be like, it was the story, it was the spirit. He probably took him.
Right. Or something happens weird at your house and they're just like, the spirit.
Oh my God, man. Imagine.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see.
But
Spooky Nerds next year. We'll see what happens.
Don't say that. The continuation of the spirit with no face. Ooh. But that's it. That is the story of my experiences with this spirit and how it's constantly
that was great, actually.
Me.
That was a good follow-up.
Yes.
And I think the listeners will be much satisfied.
I hope so. Reach out to me if you guys have any questions regarding this. I'm happy to share.
Comment down below, guys. You know, we want to hear feedback, as always.
Yes. So thank you guys for hyping me up, I guess. It kind of made me a little bit nervous, but I'm glad to share this experience. And, again, I promise you all of this is true. This is not any way manufactured for the show or anything. It's 100% true.
I think between my experiences and your experiences, I think they have, some people obviously have to believe like, okay, maybe it is true. You know? So that puts the end of Spooky Nerd Scary Stories.
Can I add one thing?
Go for it.
If any listener comes out and says, oh, let's go ghost hunting. No. No. I'm telling you right now, the experiences are mine and mine alone. Yeah. I am not going to go with you on an abandoned hospital. I've had enough. I am not dealing with anything. I am not going to have any latched spirits with me anymore. Or I am fine with this guy. Yeah. Okay? Wherever you are. Yeah. All right. So we've kept him waiting long enough, Rene.
Yes. So the next portion of this podcast now, I know what you guys are thinking. We're recording here on October 30th. We're going to talk about Mandalorian. Unfortunately, we are not in this episode.
It won't be for another 2 weeks.
It won't be for another 2 weeks that we will post. And that will be the first thing that we'll be posting is the audio commentary tracks.
We'll talk more about that at the end of the episode.
But that's what, if you guys are hoping that we're going to talk about Mandalorian in this episode, unfortunately, we are not. We're going to end this with, being that it's the last week of October, we're going to talk about good and funny and bad horror movies.
Yes, finally. Spooky on spooky content.
Spooky content. We're going to keep it going. So, I have a friend that watches nothing but horror movies.
Fun.
And we've been friends for a very long time now, and he always introduced me to the best bad horror movies. And he's super great. He has his own channel that he's dedicated now to. He's doing 30 Days of Fright, every single day he's posting a horror movie. They're only less than 10 minutes long, so you guys don't have to worry about watching a long video. He keeps it short and sweet. So here, for the first time, our first in-call guest, Hayden Blackburn, everyone.
Woo! Yay! Hayden! Welcome, buddy.
Thanks for having me on here. It's good.
Yeah.
It's real good.
So were you listening to anything we were saying before?
He was listening.
Oh, I was listening to the whole thing, man. I mean, Bryan, I have to say this. I mean, I think you should sleep with a Bible in your left hand and a cross on your right hand.
No, Hayden, what did I just say? We don't deal with the spirits here. He's not harmed me at all yet.
It's a precautionary thing.
It's a precaution.
Actually, you know what? I will say this, Hayden, that I do have a cross at the entrance of my door.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and I think I told you this, Rene, when you
Yeah.
came over, that it's because my mom and my dad they're Catholic.
Yeah.
Well, my dad is Catholic. My mom was Catholic. But she was a firm believer. When I moved out, she's like, this cross has been with you since birth. You're going to put it in the front of your door, and it's always going to be there. And I've never removed it since.
Yes.
Yeah,
Nice,
so Hayden,
man.
don't
That's
worry.
Nice.
Yes.
But yeah, dude, those are crazy
Isn't it?
stories.
Yeah.
Man. Like I don't even know what to say.
Hayden, you guys who don't know, Hayden listens to our episodes and watches all of our Let's Plays.
We
So
appreciate
Of
that,
course.
Hayden.
Yes, so thank you so much for doing that. That's why, also to end October, Spooky Nerds, we wanted to have you on the show and talk about what else than just horror movies in general.
Yeah, that sounds great.
So,
Love it.
all right, so let's start it off with you. Do you have a few horror movies that you have seen? What's the first one that comes to your mind when you think of bad horror movies, or good bad horror movies, if anything?
Good bad horror movies. Like I have to do an honorable mention because, like, for one, I don't really watch them a lot, but anything from Sci-Fi Channel for the most part.
Does that even count?
Well, yeah, because they put out so much stuff,
Yeah, they put a bunch of stuff out. I mean,
Yeah.
like Sharknado, they had like Christmas
That's
Shark, and they have all
true.
this other.
Wait, say that again?
Christmas Shark.
Oh,
Yeah,
I thought you
Christmas
said
Shark.
Christian Shark. I'm like a
Oh,
Christian.
I can probably
Christmas Shark.
Well,
Like,
if
it's
they
a-
put
it-
out a
it-
Velocipaster, you
Yeah,
know,
I saw
like
that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Velocipaster is great. I love Velocipaster. I actually reviewed that on my channel.
Yes, you did. Yeah.
That movie, that's a good start. I'll talk about Velocipaster first. Like, it's great. It's so low budget and great. Like, there's certain parts where there should be like special effects, but I don't know why they did this. I make the joke that they ran out of money, but like to give like an idea. So in the beginning of the movie, you have a pastor, right? And like he's outside his church and he sees his parents and he's like, "Oh, mom and dad, hi," and he like waves at them. Then like you see him like take 2 steps down like the walkway, then you hear a giant explosion, right? And like your first instincts is like, "Oh, his parents died from a car explosion." Okay. Then you cut to the same spot where his parents were, and it just says special effects, and there's nothing.
Yeah.
It just has the signs of special effects.
It's
like
just
fire.
like this, the same scene.
This isn't a sci-fi movie, is it?
I think I'm not too sure if it came out as a sci-fi movie, but I
I
know.
don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not confident that I don't know. It's something it could be on sci-fi.
But
though.
it's funny
So
because
bad
it
it's
cuts.
meta.
It cuts to like nothing, and it's just like it just says special effects explosion.
Yeah, and you hear fire.
You hear
in the
fire,
background.
but it's just the same scene where the parents were, and there's nothing there now, and it just says special effects explosion.
That's so hard to picture.
You have to see
It's like
it.
the simplest scene, and I can't picture it.
Yeah, that's like I remember seeing that for the first time, and I'm just like, wait, what? Is this a joke? Then like you have these other moments where like, okay, and there's ninjas in the movie, by the way. It's a kung fu movie, as
Yeah.
long as it was a guy turning into a velociraptor
Yeah.
from a tooth he found. So yeah,
Yeah.
you might be asking, why are there ninjas in the movie?
Yeah, actually, that's my facial expression
Yeah,
this whole
that's
time.
right. Brian's
Oh,
like, what the hell?
dude, it's great. So I'm gonna just spoil it because it's just so great.
It's
So-
on Amazon Prime, anyways, isn't
It
it?
is on
Yeah.
Amazon Prime.
Okay.
It is. And so the reason why there's ninjas in the movies because apparently these ninjas are Christians, and so they're drug pushing ninjas, by the way.
Christian
so-
drug pushing ninjas.
Yeah, and their whole plot is to get everybody in the small town hooked on like cocaine or crack or like drugs. and since they have the supply of drugs, they'll cut everybody off, and so they basically go into like relapse and they turn to God like 23 steps. And so they basically want to convert people to Christians based off like
The
being a
secret
past drug
motivation
addict.
of Christians. Brian's like, he pushed his mic away, and he's like, no.
I'm serious, Ryan. It's true. It's on Amazon Prime if you don't believe me.
No, I believe you. I just want to know what drugs and in what order do you have to take to make up such a fantastic movie?
Right.
Yeah, right.
Like, what? Drug
Yeah.
pushing ninjas. What?
Yeah, they're drug pushing Christian ninjas.
Yeah, drug pushing Christian ninjas, because they secretly think that if they push drugs on people, they're gonna go to the Christian church to seek help.
Yeah.
My head hurts. Okay.
Their whole plot is to make born again Christians.
See, but then I've watched the clip of that movie, and now there's one part that we are actually, missing. The pastor turns into a velociraptor.
Well, yeah, it's Velocipastor. Yeah, that's at some point.
You would think that movie, okay, maybe they put budget into the transformation of becoming a velociraptor.
No,
it's freaking like a costume he puts on as a raptor and stuff.
A really bad costume.
Yeah, it's now CGI. Like, he just puts on just like some sort of random costume as a raptor.
Why is this not Best Picture of the Year?
Like how I described the costume, it's basically if you get like that duck-billed dinosaur, like from Jurassic Park 3, and like you combine it with like son of Godzilla or Godzilla's son.
Yeah, it doesn't even look like a raptor.
The thing's really small and short, but it's like really wide and it has that like aesthetic to it. And like, it's great.
It's awesome.
I gotta watch this now. I was gonna watch Killer Queens in like a week, and now I kind of want to watch this.
So, with that being said, there was one movie that I actually wanted to say. I talked to Hayden about it earlier this week. That I reminisce it's a movie that came out I think like late 70s, early 80s. It's called Bloody Birthday. And the premise of this the premise of this one is that it's these 3 little kids that are kind of deranged, kind of little kids that just go on a killing spree. And now that's not the weird part. The weird part is in the beginning of the movie, the reason why they are like this, that they have like murderous tendencies, is because all 3 of them were born on the same day during a lunar eclipse. And apparently they said when you're born during a lunar eclipse, you go crazy when you're born. Yeah. It's just like, wait, what? Like,
yeah, and how you find that out is because like apparently like the sister to one of their kids is like an astrology major or whatever, so she's like studying this, so she's reading it off like, oh, Saturn's moon was in this position at this specific time during this lunar eclipse, and this is like makes the people born at this time not have like compassion or something.
Yeah, but like they're like sociopaths basically.
So do you remember that episode of SpongeBob where Patrick has like his head busted and it's like sparking and it's like because he's too stupid? That's me right now. Like I can't. I think I'm out of commission for the rest of this episode because I can't, or this issue because I can't. This is amazing.
There's actually a really good scene in that movie where they're celebrating all these 3 kids' birthdays. So there's like a little boy that wears glasses. He's like the ringleader essentially.
Yeah, he kind of looks like that kid from what's the movie? I'll forget about it.
There's like a little kid with
My Girl. It was from My Girl.
My Girl. Oh, he looks like Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah.
He kind of looks like Macaulay Culkin.
From My Girl.
And then there's a blonde little girl, which is, and then there's also, I think it's like a short kid with like brown hair or something. I forgot what he is. But okay, so they're celebrating their birthday, and apparently there's like the older sister of one of these kids looks at what this kid's doing to the communal birthday cake that they're gonna put out, and she sees there's like rat poison opened, and they take out the cake, and it's very nerve-wracking because you don't know if he did it or not, and she's like looking at everyone and she's like, don't eat the cake and stuff like that. So that's what made me love the movie, was that scene alone, where it was like, you're like, wait, did he or didn't he? And he's like smirking at the girl and stuff like that. And I'm just like, oh crap,
Okay.
Yeah, because the whole point of that was so the kids like make her sound crazy.
Yeah.
So like no one would believe her.
Yeah.
And it worked.
What is this? What is
Bloody Birthday? That one's called.
Okay, so before we jump into more of these movies, Hayden, I got a question for you. What makes a bad horror movie classically good? Like, you gave us 2 examples. So you and Rene have given me 2 examples of really bad sounding, fantastically must watch horror movies.
Yeah.
What, in your opinion, makes these essentially good movies that you have to watch? Like something that I can relate it to, The Room. You know, like a good bad movie to me is The Room. It's so bad that you have to at least watch a video on YouTube that has the great cut parts, because it's so bad that you just like you have to see it to believe it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from.
So what, in your opinion, is this? Like,
I want to talk about The Room just a little bit. The Room is so great because like the movie itself tries to take itself so seriously, but yet watching it, it's like, this makes no sense, but yet they're putting so much effort into trying to make it like good.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's what makes The Room specific. The Room is on another level. It's on another level. It's like not even like in the same book. It's not even on the same shelf.
It's
Like,
not
it's
the
off
same
the shelf.
Bible.
It's like
This is a
floating
different
like
one.
near like the exit, like at the doorway of like reality. So to answer your question though about like what makes a bad movie good, just for one, just having fun with it, because like look at like Bloody Birthday or like Velocipaster. They know what they're making, so they're just having fun with it, right? And they're just
Okay.
making it super ridiculous to it's just entertaining to watch. Because the biggest sin a movie can be, from my viewpoint, is being boring. Like that's like the worst thing a movie can be, right?
Uh-huh. No, yeah, that 100% agree.
Because like I've seen some bad movies and I hate them because like they're boring or they just don't work out. But like the bad good movies, they're entertaining to watch. Like nothing is boring in it. Like something always has to happen to where it's just like more ridiculous than the last thing. Like Velocipaster, for example, or Bloody Birthday. But then you get another category, which leads me to the next movie. Me and Rene have seen this one, and we found this on just some random app, and the title alone just gave it like we need to watch this, and it was called Swamp Ape.
Oh God,
What?
Swamp Ape? Yeah, I think we were watching it on some random horror movie.
Oh no, it was on Cody.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah,
So
because Cody has like some some channels on there where you can
Yeah.
have like random like movies, and we saw Swamp Ape, and we're
Swamp
like,
Ape. So
Swamp Ape.
What
When you
we
say
did is-
swamp ape, it reminds me of swamp ass.
That's what it
that's
called.
basically what this movie is too. But so,
Don't Google that, by the way,
No,
listeners.
don't Google Swamp Ape. Yes, not the other one.
Make sure it's APE, not ASS.
Yeah.
So yeah, we watched that movie, and we didn't know what to expect. I think we saw the title of the actual Swamp Ape that
Yeah,
they were
and
doing.
the poster
The
just looks
poster,
terrible.
It was neon green, like someone made it in like Adobe. And
Yeah.
like, just I don't know, because we saw the poster and we're just like, let's try it. Let's go ahead. And we watched it, and then what we didn't find out is that there's actual channel devoted to Swamp Ape, but it's just the movie free to watch on YouTube.
Okay.
So we were like, oh, it's on YouTube and stuff because it's just a free movie, and we're like, okay, let's watch it, and it's just basically like a college movie that someone decided.
This is like this is like a freshman film student's like
Yeah.
end of the year project movie.
Yeah, like basically they've been told like, oh, you have like this awesome idea, do it, and he's like, okay, and just did it half-assed. Like,
Oh, it's like, oh. So let's get into like the plot of it. So
I don't even
I
remember the plot.
don't even remember, but I just remember like they go into like the Florida Everglades, like a group of like maybe 6 like college students, whatever. It's like the typical like stereotypical like, oh, you have like 5
I
or
thought
6
they
young
passed them
people
off as
go in
high
like
school
the
students.
forest or like the swamp, whatever.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, they're trying to find the swamp equivalent of Sasquatch. And I don't know if that was what they called them, but like
Yeah.
me and Rene just saying they were looking for the swamp ape.
Yeah.
And
it's
his-
it's just weird because like I thought they passed them off as high school students, and like they're going on a trip and stuff, and they're basically again trying to find the myth of the swamp ape or the Sasquatch or something like that.
Yeah, but like in the Everglades, which
Yeah.
is like weird on itself.
And just the movie kind of drags out because it's super slow in the beginning, and I think it was like what, the 20-minute mark until we saw swamp ape or something.
Yeah, it was about like 20 minutes in, and this movie's like maybe like an hour and 15 minutes long.
Yeah, and it's really bad because it does go towards those like horror movie kind of cliches. There's a black girl in the movie, and she totally has been told like you got to be like the stereotypical type of just like
Oh, yeah, it
attitude
was
and
bad.
stuff. And that was really bad. I was like,
It was really bad.
"Ooh."
Like, you need to stop.
Yeah.
Like, this is just getting.
But
no.
is this movie bad? So bad it's good that you have to watch, or so
The-
bad that it's like we can talk about it, but there's no way in hell I'm gonna recommend someone to look for this movie.
I would, but
Oh.
there's one scene that makes it all worth it. And
Yeah.
Renee knows exactly what I'm
Yeah.
talking about.
Explain yourself.
Go ahead.
Renee.
I don't know if can I explain it?
Is
Yeah.
it gonna be super offensive? I mean,
Not
to bleep?
offensive. just-
I'll let Renee make the call.
no, it's not offensive per se. It's just really off-putting.
It's really bad. Okay, so in the middle of the movie, like the swamp ape captures like one of the girls, and he has a steel cage out in the middle of the swamp for no reason.
Wait a minute. Before you begin this, Hayden, did you ever watch the Big Bang TV series?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no,
I've seen episodes of it.
Is this what they're referencing?
I don't know. Is there an episode where they talk about swamp ape?
Penny does this like really low budget horror movie where she turns into an ape.
No, it's not that. No, I think I know what you're talking about.
Okay, because you said steel cage, and I'm like, there's a scene where she's in a steel cage.
But apparently Swamp Ape's been around for so long that he has a steel cage on hand.
Yeah, apparently he just made a steel cage out of the middle of. He's like a MacGyver for like apes in the swamp.
Okay, continue. So he captures one of them and puts him in a steel cage,
and he gets, what's the nice word to put it, aroused by her. And
he's trying to find a mate.
It's hilarious.
So go ahead.
So he goes into the cage with her. Then you see him do a red rocket, essentially. And when me and Rene saw that, we were just like, "WTF was that?"
It was like basically like you're watching a dog, and I was like, "What? What? Wait, they're doing this?" And I'm like, wait, what?
Is this an actual penis?
Yeah, no.
Okay, I was gonna. No. He's like, maybe.
No, they made like a makeshift.
Yeah, it was like,
I don't know.
I don't even know how to describe
so
how
weird. That's what I'm saying.
It.
It got really weird, and at that point, we're like, should we just keep going? we're halfway in the film. At this point, I just want to see how it ends.
Yeah. I don't even remember how it ends.
I don't even remember. I think it ends with like they're trying to get away. They find the girl and stuff. Nothing happens to the girl. I think something happens where they showed that, and then Swamp Ape hears like everyone trying to find her, and then leaves and tries to get everyone else. And then Swamp Ape rips off one of the guys. Oh, the stoner guys. There's a stoner guy, rips off his arm, and he's like, "Oh no, that's my smoking arm," or something like that.
Oh yeah, that's my smoking arm, bro.
That's my smoking arm. And then they put him back in the cabin, and he's like, and this girl's like, "Here, I have some hot Cheetos. They can give you strength." I was like,
yeah,
what?
I remember that now. Yeah, here's some hot Cheetos. They'll give you strength. As he's bleeding out from his arm.
He's bleeding out. He's bleeding out from his arm, and they just leave him there, and he's never heard of him again.
So let me propose this to you guys, okay? Yeah. So what you're telling me is that the three of us could potentially produce a low-budget movie
that's better than this one.
That's better than anything that you guys just mentioned.
Probably, yeah.
Except Velocipaster.
Velocipaster is a masterpiece on its own.
So
it's its own category.
Here's what we could do. Keeping Up with the Nerds presents a horror low-budget special event directed by Hayden, or written by Hayden, directed by Hayden, starring Rene, and I'll be the cinematographer.
Oh, there you go.
I would love that. We should try that. I'm serious. We can make a better movie than Swamp Ape with a cell phone camera.
Do we do a found footage horror comedy?
Ooh,
we could try that.
Yeah,
I would like that.
You heard it here, folks.
Trademarked.
It's ours. There's no way.
Copyright.
Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max. Hit us up.
We are waiting for that check.
Well, we should call Netflix. They approve everything.
There you go. There you go.
That's true.
The plan should be that we should write this out within the next year, mail it to Netflix, and within 2 years, they'll probably get back to us and be like, let's go for it. Green light this thing. We're only giving you a budget of $100,000.
Oh,
if the Kissing Booth can get a sequel, we can get a movie.
Basically, yes.
Yes.
We can give us. I know I said 100,000, Hayden, but let's go with 200. Maybe we can sneak by
Let's do it.
Yeah, we'll use like a quarter of it. Okay, Hayden.
Oh, definitely.
And we'll pocket the rest.
Just get all the supplies from Home Depot.
All right, so we've talked about bad movies that are so bad that they're good, with the exception of Swamp Ape.
Yeah.
Well, I actually have another one.
Okay,
another one.
Go for it, because I do have. I do want to talk about this.
This
as well.
Another one. I mentioned it to Rene that he should watch it, but I don't think he watched it yet.
I didn't have time, but he did let me know.
It's called Uninvited.
Yeah,
that
it's
sounds
on
familiar.
Amazon Prime.
No, it's not. Watch it. I thought it was one movie, but
it's not what you think.
When he explained it, it's a different movie.
Okay, so it's on Amazon Prime. Keep talking. I'm gonna look this up.
Okay. So the whole movie involves this cat, right? Just like a normal cat.
Okay.
Well, this cat mutates into like a demon cat, but the thing is, like, the cat itself doesn't mutate. It like lives inside a cat, and like the cat regurgitates it out of its mouth, and it kills people.
So like The Thing, but worse.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at the poster of it, and you'll know what I'm talking about.
Uninvited.
Like, it's like a cat with like a pink background, and it's like him puking. It looks like he's puking on a hairball.
No, actually, I see
The Uninvited.
Uninvited.
No, it's just uninvited. Oh, it's a cat with teeth and another cat inside.
Yeah.
Cats have 9 lives. You only have 1. Uninvited. It's
And
not on Amazon Prime. You have to buy it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you have to buy it. It's worth it. It's worth it. Because like the reason why it's called Uninvited is because like, so this cat escapes from a lab, right? And then like you meet these like 2 ladies like on spring break in Florida, and like they get invited to like some rich guy's yacht, like in the middle of like the ocean. And they find the cat, and they just happen to bring it on board with them, and that's why it's called Uninvited, because the guy hates cats, and so he didn't want the cat on there.
Oh.
Okay.
And
I see the pictures now.
yeah, and so apparently it's not just like the cat kills people, right? No, apparently it contaminates like the food to like where the people die of like reasons, because they were they were like in contact with this cat.
What?
I do have to check it out now that I'm seeing.
Okay, you check it out.
Yeah,
you let me know.
All right. You spend your time watching the movie.
Rene, can I get a time check real quick?
Yeah, we're hitting an hour.
We're hitting an hour. Perfect. Okay. What were we gonna say, Hayden?
And dude, I'm just gonna leave it. It's just great.
It's great. That's it.
Look, if anything, the listeners should go away with this is that any recommendations that you are putting out there, they're probably like top tier recommendations.
Definitely.
Bad movies that they should watch, that they should understand that they're bad movies that they have to sit through, and you'll probably laugh at the fact it's so bad, but you'll be like, yeah, it's a good movie. Would I watch it again? No. Will I talk about it? Yes. That's the whole point of it.
Yes.
And another recommendation is called Shocking Dark, and I'll just leave it at that.
Shot in the dark?
Shocking Dark.
Shocking Dark.
If you're a fan of Aliens and Terminator, you'll love it.
That's all you needed to say. Thank you, Hayden.
Brian loves both of those movies.
You just spoke
it's
my
on Amazon
language.
Prime for free.
Did you actually just say that because it's me?
Maybe.
Huh?
Did you just say, oh, if you're a fan of Aliens and Terminator, you'll like this movie? Do you know who you're speaking to?
Now I do. No, because I kept trying to tell Rene to watch this. And like everyone, I'd say like, hey, if you're a fan of Aliens and Terminator, you'll love this. And the reason why I say that is because I think Rene will know what I'm talking about, but Bryan, you probably won't. It's like Hardware Wars level.
Oh, I see.
Are we talking the 2008 one or the 1981?
1981.
It's to rent on Amazon Prime.
Oh, okay. Well, how much?
$2, $3.
That's not bad.
It's not bad.
I'll do that.
Yeah, it has like 2 alien looking dudes like on the cover.
No, that's the 2018 one.
Oh, is it 2018?
Yeah, so there's a 2018.
Oh, it's 1989.
Oh,
Shocking, like it's shocking. Like,
so it's unavailable on Amazon Prime according to this, but it's a Imbravura ripoff of both Aliens and Terminator, which is what Hayden said. A team of badass Marines, a tough female civilian, and an orphan girl battle monsters beneath the Venice canals.
That's Aliens.
While being chased by an indestructible killer cyborg. Have we mentioned the overwrought dialogue, the over-the-top performance, and ultimate what the fuck twist ending?
Oh, it's a twist that you're just like mind blown because it's I don't want to spoil it, but like you're gonna see it. Okay, so this movie has a lot of that's convenient moments in it, and you'll know exactly what I mean once you see it. Once you see it, you're gonna come back and like think, oh, Hayden says there's a lot of those moments, and you're gonna be like, yep, there it is.
All right, Hayden, I have another question to ask you. What's up? You watch nothing but horror. We've established this when we brought you in.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question because I don't necessarily watch a lot of horror. If it's any sort of horror that I'm going to really devote myself into, it's usually comedy horror.
Okay.
And it's very difficult for me to even try to watch it because part of me can stand the gore and the violence that comes from it, but a movie has to be really, really interesting for me to even try to watch it. So the reason I bring this up is because the Vince Vaughn movie Freaky is going to come out in November.
Yeah.
And we talked about it in an issue, Rene, right? And so that kind of reminded me of this topic of comedy horror where it's like, okay, well, you know, it's an actual topic. But what makes comedy horror comedic from your perspective? Is it the gore? Is it the dialogue? Is it the acting? What exactly for you specifically?
That's kind of difficult because for me it's more like the situation that it's in, because like a lot of the movies, like when I think of like comedy horror, like the first one that comes to my mind is Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
I was just gonna recommend that. Yeah, I was just gonna
It's
say
the sequel to. It's like the sequel or the trequel.
No, Tucker and Dale versus Evil is a movie that was it, and it plays on the fact of horror as well too.
Yeah,
I was thinking of Evil Dead.
Oh no, yeah.
Oh no, it's not Evil Dead related.
Well, but Evil Dead is very. It's considered a horror, but it has those moments.
Not the first one, is it?
No, the first one's more serious. It's just that it kind of has funny moments, but I would not consider it like a horror comedy.
It's the second one, Ash versus Evil Dead, right?
Well,
no, it's a TV show.
Yeah.
No,
it's a show.
what's the second one?
The second one is the second one's Evil Dead 2.
Yeah, Evil Dead 2.
What's the one where Ash comes out with the chainsaw hand?
Well, that's Evil Dead 2 at the end, but then he's in Army of Darkness.
Yes.
That's the one.
Yeah, and that's the one they basically made it. They play it towards more slapstick in that one.
Yeah.
Because the situation.
Yeah.
But Tucker and Dale versus Evil, again, what Hayden was recommending or was saying that it plays on the fact it's in a horror genre, and they use that as comedy as well too, because it follows these hillbillies that have nothing to do with anything, but these college kids believe they are serial killers or crazy serial killers. But the thing is that
I've heard about this movie. Yes.
And then when the college kids are trying to interfere, they end up killing themselves accidentally. The whole entire
it's hilarious.
It's great.
So, okay, sorry, Hayden, go on.
But that's a hard one because like you're taking two complete opposite things. Like you're mixing comedy, which is funny and happy, with horror, which is supposed to be scary and like a thriller. And you're combining the two. The thing for me is just like the situation.
Yeah.
Another one, I don't know if you would like it, Ryan, but you should give it a watch if you can, is Frankenhooker.
The names alone.
I know, it's just the names themselves are just like, okay, go on.
You have to check it out.
You have to check it out. It's great.
That.
It's I would consider Frankenhooker a horror comedy, even though it's not really, but I would consider it. So the main the whole plot is that there's this dude, and he's like a mad scientist kind of, but like he accidentally kills his girlfriend. So he's trying to reanimate her by using like parts from prostitutes to make like quote unquote the perfect girlfriend or wife. And he achieves that, but in the end she becomes a prostitute. It's just the scenario and the situation that they're in that makes it hilarious. Or just like the dialogue is funny, like how it's written is hilarious. Like I wouldn't say the gore is like a funny part. It adds to it, but I wouldn't say it's like a main component. You could just add to it. It's like a cherry on top. Because there is a scene in Frankenhooker where it gets very explosive, if you know what I mean, if you've seen it. And that part is just hilarious in on itself. And it just keeps adding on. It keeps adding on top of each other. Like it just keeps growing and growing and growing until it's just like hilarious.
So when I think of comedy horror, because I like the examples you've given, because you said it's just they're two polar opposite genres. You have comedy, which is all happy, and horror, which is serious, and could be either violent or could be a thriller or it could be just like freaky fear. It plays on all these different aspects, right? But there's certain comedy horrors, because I'll give you the examples that I grew up on. I grew up on like Child's Play and Gremlin. And so for me, those are like comedy horrors. They're dark comedies in a way, because Child's Play is still scary for me. With that movie itself, I was scared of having a doll that resembled like a tiny child. I didn't like it. And seeing children with the Chucky doll all over the place freaked me out. I'm like, how the hell do you even carry this thing around?
Yeah.
Gremlins is a dark comedy. in a way kind of horror.
It's more,
technically a horror.
It's technically a horror movie.
It's technically a horror movie that has funny parts in it. But
Exactly.
It's hilarious.
But it's like it is trying to be a horror, but it's just funny in a way.
Yeah.
And more recently, and I think you listened to this part, Hayden, was I watched The Babysitter.
Yeah, I've seen The Babysitter.
Yeah,
and I would agree.
It's like it's still a horror movie because there are moments where it is pretty freaky, like the jump scares where Cole is trying to climb out of the window.
Yeah.
And he's having like that mental breakdown of like trying to do it. Camera pans out and then pans back, and then there she is. There's B right behind her. Or when he goes up to the cheerleader and like tries to wake her up, but she's quote unquote dead. Camera pans away, then pans back, and she's not in the chair. You're like, oh shit, like yeah. And so those are actual horror elements, but it's well enough that it's also comedic because of the dialogue.
Yeah. Or like how the actors are like reactions to certain things as
The biggest thing is that they know what it is and they're not taking it seriously. They're just having fun with it because like funny things happen just naturally. You can't force comedy because it won't work. Like Babysitter, the whole idea of like a satanic cult like killing teenagers at this little kid's like house is hilarious in on itself, and just adding on top of like the dialogue and this kid just getting involved and others, it adds on top of itself and it just makes it better because like you're taking the situation, like the whole plot, which is funny already, and they just like, we're not taking this seriously, just have fun with it.
Now, do you think that gore plays an element in this comedy horror genre?
It can.
But it's not necessary.
But it has to, because going back to what Rene's recommendation was, Brain Dead.
Yeah.
That is considered like the goriest movie like ever.
I thought it was the Serbian whatever it was.
No.
You know what movie I'm talking about?
The Serbian film or something like that? A Serbian film?
A Serbian film or something?
Yeah. No, that one's the most like disturbing movie of horror movie of all time.
Of horror movies. Yeah, that's like probably the most disturbing, and it is because it's disturbing.
It plays on the whole like dark web thing.
I would not watch it.
No, right. I've been told. Friend of the show Bishop was the one that talked to me about it, and he gave me the whole rundown of it.
But going back to Brain Dead, it's considered one of the goriest movies ever made. And fun fact, when they released it in movie theaters, people were getting sick from it that they actually prescribed barf bags in the theater.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah.
Just like The Conjuring brought up the whole fact that priests were being sent to theaters after because people were asking for them.
Yeah, and there's a scene where he uses basically a lawnmower to cut zombies up. It's super gory, but it works. It's more of like depending on the situation, because if you just add gore for comedic effect, it can work. But I guess everything else has to work with it. Like, it's a zombie movie. Okay, you're going to have gore in it, regardless of, like, if it's funny or not. It's like the whole notion of just having, like, really screwed up, like, bloody scenes or violence. Another example I would like to use for, like, horror comedy, but I wouldn't even really consider it comedy, is basically anything from Trauma.
Oh, the Trauma films, yeah. With, like, The Toxic Avenger.
Terror Firmer, Poultrygeist.
Yeah.
Poultrygeist or Poltergeist?
No, poultry,
it's
like
poultry,
birds,
guys.
like chickens.
Yeah. Like people, there's a fried chicken place that's serving.
Oh, the movie's actually called Poultrygeist.
Poultrygeist. The movie's about basically.
What the heck? Okay.
Serving like tainted chicken.
I was like, for a second, I'm like, wait, have I been saying this wrong?
No. It's actually a movie separately called Poultrygeist.
Yeah,
it's actually called.
We watched that. That was actually
brilliant.
pretty good. That was actually a pretty good movie.
That's brilliant.
But like that movie, those movies they're funny, and like the gore just adds on top of it just because of the situations. Yeah. Gore can only add more hilarious moments. It cannot be like the main one. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like, it's kind of hard to explain.
I completely get you. So, like, if you don't mind me using the Babysitter movie as an example, what's his name? Not Max, the black guy. Sam, I forget his name, but basically when Cole pushes him off the banister and he falls down, he basically breaks his neck on the railing, falls through a table, and then has the trophy slammed through his neck, and it's basically like breaks it. Like, that part to me wasn't like, I could stand that, even though it was pretty messed up, but it's like funny in a way because throughout the whole movie he's like, I don't want to die, and he probably got the worst.
He got the worst death.
Yeah. now thinking about it, I think it's just slapstick that goes a little bit further.
Yeah, because I think when you guys talk about blood or gore in a horror comedy, I think of Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah,
Yes.
And the scene,
Yeah.
That's a good. We should have mentioned.
That's actually probably the best example.
and the best scene is when basically they're in the security room or in that like where all the doors open, and the funny and the like most ridiculous part is when all of like security guards are going through and they're all lined up in the elevator, and she opens all of the like releases all of those horror monsters, and you just see blood pouring out of that room.
It's the famous scene for the one that everyone talks about for Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah, and it's funny. You find that kind of like you're like that's actually really ridiculous.
Yeah,
you know?
Cabin in the Woods is a comedy horror.
It's a comedy horror. Yeah,
because it's making fun of a horror genre, which it's like Scream. It's just a different subgenre because Scream is like slashers, and this one is more like Cabin in the Woods, like as the title implies, and just like. So it's making fun of like Evil Dead. It's making fun of like Cabin Fever,
Friday the
13th.
Friday the 13th. Yeah, just stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's actually funny that you bring that up because just a little side tangent. I actually got in a fight with somebody and about that movie.
Really?
You probably remember it was I don't even care if he listens. Canning Adams. You remember him? He was at the original store. I don't know if you remember him.
I think so. Go ahead, but
so anyway, so like I actually got in a fight with him because he's like, yeah, I saw Cabin in the Woods and it wasn't scary. And I'm like, that was the point. Like it's supposed to be a comedy. You're not supposed to. It's a trope on itself. It's like not supposed to be scary. And he's like,
look at this,
it's not
Mr.
supposed to be
Tough Guy.
scary. I'm like, it's supposed to be scary. I'm like, that's not the point of the movie, dude. Like
you're missing the point, buddy.
You're missing the point.
All right, so we're gonna have to wrap this up pretty soon.
We're hitting our hour 15 mark.
Hour 15. So I do want to end this on kind of an interesting question for you, Hayden, that I kind of thought up on the spot. So we've went from bad horror movies that end up being good and must watch. Yeah, right? Movies so bad that they're good, to talking about comedy horror, and this entire genre basically spanned into different avenues about, how did you phrase it, Hayden? Comedy that plays on the fact that it's horror or something like that?
Yeah, you're taking something that's not supposed to be taken like super. It's like, it's super scary and terrifying, but you're just adding a comedic element to it.
Yeah.
Because it's just the situations that they're in.
Yeah. So when we think about it, comedy horror to me is probably the most interesting kind of group when it comes to horror, because horror we can easily say like The Conjuring. If we're talking about modern horror,
definitely,
like The Haunting of Hill House, The Haunting of, what is the new one? The
Bly Manor.
Oh,
Bly Manor.
Yeah.
We're talking about The Conjuring, that entire series.
Annabelle. Yeah.
Annabelle. We can talk about Saw as well, and they all kind of share similar tropes in a way, even though each one is uniquely different. But comedy horror is so expansive that it's kind of, each one has its own uniqueness to it. So we think of like Child's Play or Gremlins. Those could be grouped separately, and they were younger comedy horrors, when it first started to kind of become its own thing, I guess you could say. Developed in the late 80s, right? If anything? Yeah. Then we got the scary movies, Scary Movie 1, 2, 3, 4, and those were just specifically comedies that played on the horror elements. Then we get things like Cabin in the Woods, which is a comedy that is a horror that isn't technically a horror, but it
plays on the horror.
It plays on the tropes
element. Yeah,
exactly. And then we get movies like The Babysitter, which is an actual horror that is also funny. So my question to you is this, Hayden: where is horror going to take itself next? We've already seen this kind of evolution when it comes to this. Like I mentioned all those things. So what can we expect from this kind of genre down the line?
I don't know, and I that's the best answer I can give, but it's in a good way, because that's the whole fun of it. Like, you really don't know. It could be really good or it can be really bad. It's just, you just need to you can't keep doing the same thing over and over again. Like, that's why I personally do not like modern, like mainstream horror movies, because they're pretty much all the same in some aspect or the other. Like The Witch. I do not like The Witch at all. I saw Hereditary and Midsummer. I did not care for them at all. it's just you have to have compelling like storytelling, but you can't be super complicated about it. Like, yes, you could be scary, but like don't put too much effort into it. Like the best horror movies were always just simple concepts, like or like from books. Like for example, the Golden Age, you have Dracula, you have Frankenstein, the Wolfman, simple concepts. Then you get into like the 60s, 70s, like Exorcist, possession, like a girl gets possessed by the devil.
I see what you mean.
Simple.
Yeah.
It's just the basis of one idea, and it doesn't build upon itself to add more and more layers. It's a one-tier cake of horror.
Yes.
Okay.
And you can, and these can be
That makes sense.
groundbreaking. In my opinion, and I'm very strongly about this, the best horror movie ever made was Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh.
The original one from 1974.
Explain this. This is interesting. Explain this.
It's just, you take something simple, like you have a group of people just driving through West Texas, which is literally nothing. There's nothing out there. Then they meet crazy people, essentially, which there is crazy people that like can just kidnap you at any point and no one will know that you were gone.
Yeah, especially if you're going on a road trip.
Especially on a road trip, which is like simple, like this one of the most simplest things you can do. Like every great horror movie or like any horror movie has that stupid trope, like Wrong Turn, Hills Have Eyes. I can't really think of anything more. Or Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah, sure.
It's the simplest thing, but then like the whole mindset of like there's legit crazy people out there that can do this, and how it's shot is beautiful. Like the editing is gorgeous. I think the editing is really what pushes it over the edge, because like this is the truest definition of what horror is, in my opinion. Like it's something that it can happen because it has happened. I mean, Texas Chainsaw Massacre was inspired by a real serial killer in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And he would actually cut people's skin off and he would make like furniture out of the people's skin. And this was a real person.
That was Ed Gein, right?
Ed Gein.
Ed Gein, yeah.
And it's just, and then like the thing about like Leatherface, like, yeah, I know he's like the mascot of like the whole genre, like the whole like franchise, but if you watch the first one, he's just like a minor character. He's more of like the mother of the house. Like he's just there. He just happens to be one of the most iconic points of the movie. But if you watch it, it's like, yeah, he's in it, but he's not like the main focus like everyone else is, including him. He's it's like an equal part of everybody.
It's the whole family. That's the
whole family. Like, I was watching your walkthrough, and the scene when like you're at the dinner table.
Yeah.
Like
that's what it
down.
Yeah.
That's where it came from.
Yeah.
Yeah. I put the two and two together. Yeah. That's pretty genius.
And I wanted to expand. The thing I think about with modern horror movies is that they don't go the extra step to make it terrifying, because the thing about horror movies are terrifying is that like it messes with your emotions of like fear and like what scares you, and like or if something can happen. Like that's why I like low budget movies, like or like independent movies, because they seem to have
went through that whole scenario. That's why the first Paranormal Activity was such a hit. Low budget found footage film that possibly, or that landed on real life events that could potentially happen to people.
You can go further back and say the Blair Witch Project.
There it is.
That started up the found footage genre now.
Yeah. Exactly. Like you just take a simple concept and just go with it. Just go with it. But like the thing with modern horror movies now, like you see like The Quiet Place, Midsummer, The Witch. I'll use The Witch as an example, because I feel like that's like the biggest problem with like modern horror movies. Because I remember me and Rene went to see it on opening night, like at the theater, and I liked it a lot at first. Rene, I remember you didn't really care for it.
I didn't really. I was, because it was for me, like I saw it and I was like, okay, there was a lot of stuff happening. And it's like you said, it's layers upon layers what's happening in the movie. It started off, like the family gets, exiled and stuff. And then like, okay, then it plays on like the how religious the family is and stuff like that, and how the mother acts and how the father acts. And then we get to like, oh, there's something weird happening. But then the ending is what really kind of makes me kind of like, oh, they could have ended it maybe like 20 minutes back, with certain things.
I see. Okay.
Like, I don't know if you've seen the lighthouse, but I wish the witch was like the lighthouse in the sense that like if they didn't have the witch in it, it would have been a million times better. It would have been like a great psychological thing because the story is basically they're exiled, like they don't know where they're at. They're the only people there. And if they thought there was a witch or that they were being paranoid and they just kind of like went off on each other, that would have been great. But there was actually a witch, and it just kind of like, you're making it too complicated. Just keep it simple.
I think Hayden pretty much opened up my eyes to horror a little differently because it's not a topic that I usually like to talk about, but I think that he opened it up a little bit.
You're more intrigued by it now.
Now I kind of want to.
Yeah.
And
If anything, watch the classic horror movies, like, like he said, like,
No, I won't watch Texas Chainsaw, but I'll watch.
But like I recently, and we were talking about it with me and him, I recently have a new love for the Halloween movies. I recently watched the original one, the 1974 one, and I just love the aspect of that. It is basically Michael Myers picked Laurie or Jamie Lee Curtis's character out of random to basically stalk her. It was like a random act. He basically chose her, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna stalk her for Halloween night now, and that's really scary. There wasn't no extra kind of like reasoning. It was basically like, oh, her. And
you do bring up this great point because those classics are the most impactful that are constantly mentioned even after years and years and years.
Yeah.
The Witch isn't a movie that constantly people bring up and be like, that is a movie that like is going to be in my heart and my soul for like all eternity. People always mention the greats like Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I guess the original Saw for some reason, but
I like the first 3 Saw movies. I thought they were excellent. Yeah. Everything after that just became marketing.
Marketing and like, let's do another twist on Pot and Twist. Like
because like that's a funny thing that you mentioned that because I'm a huge fan of exploitation movies. Exploitation movie in a short sense is basically movies that mainstream movie studios will not touch. Like to give you a compare and contrast, the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre is an exploitation movie. The 2001, 2, 3 remake is mainstream. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
So they're it's literally a marketing ploy just to like get people in like gore, sex. There's even a subcategory of Nazi exploitation movies, which there's just Nazis. It's just, and even like race, like they have black exploitation where it's like Blackula, Black Frankenstein. That's its own category in like exploitation.
More stuff to talk about down the line.
Saw Saw was a good one for like the first 3 because they were technically mainstream, but like they played off of like it didn't have to be gory. Like the whole story like based on is just creepy enough, and just like being in that situation is what makes it freaky. Everything after 4, it just became some huge gore fest. Like don't get me wrong, I love gore fest movies, but like that's the problem. Your whole idea is just gore and like blood and violence. Violence is is a storytelling like material, like a tool. You cannot just do this out of nowhere unless like there has to be a point to it. There has to be a point. You cannot just do it for the sake of it.
Gotcha.
And I feel like everything after Saw 3, it was basically that.
So all right, we can go on and on about this but we do have to wrap it up here. We're hitting our mark. Thank you, Hayden, so much for coming on the show. And
I do want to say, hopefully, Hayden, you do watch Freaky because I would love to have you back on. We would love to have you back on.
I'll watch Freaky and invite me back on, and I'll give you my thoughts.
Yeah,
no problem.
For sure.
All right.
For sure. All right, guys. So before we wrap up this episode, Hayden, we're gonna wrap this up. We're gonna have you say your name in the. You've listened to the podcast. You know how this works. So pretty much in the outro that we do, once Rene and I say your names, go ahead and put your name in there, okay? Before we do our typical outro, Hayden, is there anything you want to plug in? Personal, business-wise, whatever it may be, things that you might be coming out with?
Definitely check out my YouTube channel. It is hellmouth_94. Like Rene was saying, I'm doing my 31 Days of Fright, where I do a review every single day of the whole month of October, leading up till tomorrow, Halloween Day. And I'm loving it. Just one more day until Halloween. You can also like my Instagram and my Facebook page specifically. It's also hellmouth_94. The thing about my Instagram is that I do both horror movies and music, so for both my Instagram and my YouTube. But I'm just doing monster movies for the whole month of October, but I do both.
More content for people. I see
Yeah,
no complaints there.
variety, yeah.
There you go. So let's go ahead and wrap this up. If you guys are, thank you so much, Hayden, once again for being on this issue of Keeping Up with the Nerds. For our listeners, all that information that Hayden just plugged in will be in the description down below. If you're listening to this podcast on Spotify or Podbean, please head into the description. Head on over to our YouTube channel. Subscribe. Podcasts are also posted on there with the thumbnail art if you guys are interested in looking that up as well. So subscribe, hit like on that. Let us know what you guys think. If you're listening to this podcast on YouTube, in the description below, we have links to our Spotify and Podbean. Head on over there. Give us a follow. Episodes will go up Wednesdays at 11:30 every single week. We won't miss a week, and we haven't missed a week yet. Description below will also include our Instagram and Twitter handles. Give us a follow there. Let us know. Communicate with us.
Yes, definitely.
We want to know what you guys think. And with that said, are we ready to wrap this up?
We're ready to wrap this up.
All right, Rene, you're going to be heading out with the outro.
Here we
All right,
go.
Hayden, you got this? You ready?
I guess let's do it.
Let's end it.
Thank you, citizens, for listening to this issue of Keeping Up with the Nerds Variety Hour. This is Rene.
Bryan.
And Hayden.
Coming to you from 12920 Philadelphia Street, Woodard, California, recording at Undercity Comics. We all thank you once again and hope to see you all in the next one. Bye.